Let's continue learning about hairbands and hats. Both hairbands and hats start with the magic ring method. Work around the magic ring. The first 20 rounds of the hairband are the same. Let me explain each one below. First, crochet the groom's hairband. Here, I'll use a finished product to illustrate. For the groom's hairband, every round begins with a turning chain. Always finish by joining with a slip stitch. The stitch techniques involved have already been covered. Use the corresponding color of yarn. Refer to the previous demonstration. Follow the chart to crochet. After you finish crocheting, leave a short tail. Cut it off. Tuck the tail on the wrong side. Then glue it onto the head. Try it on before gluing. Align it roughly with the stitches of round 12. The sides should be right above the ears. If the hairband doesn't fit properly, you need to adjust your crocheting. To crochet it again, once you determine the position, use glue to attach it. When gluing, apply glue in small amounts multiple times. Don't squeeze too much at once, so that the glue doesn't overflow. Now, everyone can finish it on their own. That concludes the groom's hairband. After completing the groom's hairband, continue with the bride's hairband. First, crochet the first 20 rounds according to the chart. Here, I'll demonstrate round 21 using a sample. Start by crocheting the corresponding number of SCS. T indicates HDC. Start with 1 HDC. Yarn over once. Insert into the stitch. Yarn over. Pull the yarn through. There are 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over again. Draw through all loops on the hook. The HDC is completed. Correspondingly, there is also a V-shaped stitch at the top, right? Continue following the form to crochet the corresponding number of HDCS. The stitch count here is not for reference. Next, F indicates a DC. Make 1 DC. Yarn over once. Insert into the stitch. Pull the yarn through. There are 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over. Pull the yarn through the first 2 loops. There are 2 loops remaining. Yarn over again. Pull the yarn through all loops at once. 1 DC is completed. There is also a V-shaped stitch above the right side of the DC. Continue to crochet the corresponding number of DCS following the chart. The stitch count in the sample is not for reference. Next, E indicates a TR. Yarn over twice. Insert the hook into the stitch. Pull the yarn through. There are 4 loops on the hook. Yarn over. Pull the yarn through the first 2 loops. There are 3 loops remaining. Yarn over. Pull the yarn through the first 2 loops. There are 2 loops remaining. Continue to yarn over. Pull through all loops at once. The TR is completed. Now, following the chart, crochet the hairband all the way down. After completing it, attach it to the head. Here, I'll use the finished product to explain the position. Position the indented part facing forward. Align it with the stitches of the head's 12th round. It should be roughly between the two eyebrows. The two sides should be just above the ears. It should cover a bit of the sideburns. Try it on first before attaching. If the hairband size doesn't fit properly, you need to adjust your crocheting. To crochet it again, once you've determined the position, you need to use glue to attach it. Remember, when gluing, apply glue in small amounts multiple times. Don't squeeze too much at once to prevent the glue from overflowing. Now, everyone can finish it on their own. That's how you complete the bridal hair cap. Next, let's learn about hats. Here, I'll start by explaining the bridal style. Follow the chart and crochet up to round 20. For round 21, you need to make a round of slip stitches. Finally, secure the yarn tails. Now, I'll demonstrate how to secure the yarn tails. After the last stitch is completed, leave a bit of tail and fasten off the yarn. Then, pull through the yarn from the first slip stitch. Next, pull the yarn through from the last slip stitch. Slightly tighten. Then, weave the yarn tail on the back. This way, the finishing is invisible. For the final round, join the yarn on round 20 and crochet. Take the corresponding yarn, pull the yarn through. Then, make a round of slip stitches. Continue to crochet it all the way down. After completing it, use the same method as before to finish off. That concludes the crocheting of the bridal hat. Now, sew the hat onto the hairband. Along the second to last round of the hat, pick up 1-2 threads from the inside. Sew it to the hairband. Align it with the last round of stitches on the hairband at the front. Align with the 15th round from the bottom of the hairband at the back. When sewing, stuff a small amount of filling inside. Don't stuff too much. Continue to sew it up. That completes the bridal hat. Next, let's crochet the groom's hat. Refer to the chart and crochet the hat. After completing it, crochet the back part. Start with the foundation chain and work in rounds. Let me demonstrate the method. Refer to the chart and start with the foundation chain. Here, I have already crocheted. Then crochet the first round. Begin by picking up the second to last stitch. There is still one chain left. Make a SC 3 in 1. That means crocheting 3 SCS into this chain. After completing, there are 2 strands of the chain left. Turn over the piece. Crochet in the 2 strands left from the chain. Weave in the yarn tails. Trim off any excess tails. Finish with a slip stitch. This completes the first round. Continue following the form to crochet the remaining rounds for the back. After crocheting, leave about 40 centimeters of yarn tail, and cut the yarn. This concludes the crochet instructions for the back piece. After crocheting the body and the back piece, assemble them together. First, stuff a small amount of filling cotton inside the back. Then, flatten along the last round. Next, sew it to the back of the hat body. Sew along the stitches of the hat body, and the flattened stitches of the back piece. After sewing, use the reserved yarn tail from the hat body to sew the hairband on. Sew along the stitches of the last round of the hat body. Note that the back should be roughly centered. Stuff a small amount of filling cotton while sewing. Be mindful not to stuff too much. Pick up 1-2 threads from the inside. Sew it to the hairband. Cover the hairband in the front. Align it roughly with the 13th round from the top of the hairband. Sew it down as you go. Next, let's make the head accessory. Start by making the groom's head accessory. It consists of corners and patches. First, make the corners. Now, let's show. Cut a 20 cm shaping wire. Then remove the outer wrapping. Continue to remove the remaining part. After removing the outer wrapping, bend it according to the paper pattern. Shape it accordingly. Then cut about 14 centimeters of organza ribbon. Glue it to the shaping wire. Apply a small amount of glue to the shaping wire first. Once the glue is dry, trim along the contour of the shaping wire. Leave about 1–2 millimeters. Cut off the excess part. Cut a piece of black thread about 15 centimeters long. Glue it along the outer contour. Here I use the thread randomly. Finally, fold the excess shaping wire at the corner and bend it upward. The excess shaping wire can be inserted into the third round from the last on the back piece. If the shaping wire is too long, you can trim it a bit before inserting. After inserting, secure the overlapping part of the corner and the back piece with glue. This completes one corner. Make the other one in the same way. Next, attach a metal patch on each side at the front of the back piece. Then, glue a calyx above the two patches. Finally, glue a flat rhinestone on the calyx. This completes the groom's head accessory. Next, let's make the bride's head accessory. First, sew the phoenix crown to the front of the hat. The red petals should face up. The side with the fixing holes is the wrong side. Sew the 4 fixing holes on the wrong side to the hat. Use the same color thread from this part of the hat. Now, let's demonstrate the method for sewing the holes of the phoenix crown to the hat. It should be roughly aligned. After sewing, glue a purl on each of the circular holes on this row. When gluing, make sure the hole of the purl does not face up. That completes the phoenix crown. Next, let's make the large flowers. There are 3 in total. Now, let's show. First, cut a piece of thread, about 40 centimeters long, insert it into the seed needle. Then, thread 12 seed beads. Then, circle them. You can insert the beginning 2 seed beads again. Leave the starting thread a bit longer. Then tie a tight knot to secure it. Then thread 14 seed beads. The number of seed beads threaded determines the size of the petal. The quantity here can be adjusted according to personal preference. Next, pass through the 2 seed beads on the right side. And the 2 seed beads on the left side. Pull tight. Take these 14 seed beads as one petal. Then thread another 14 seed beads. Then thread through the first seed bead of the first petal. Then thread through the 4 seed beads below. Then thread 13 seed beads. Then thread through the first seed bead of the second petal. Pull tight. Then thread through the 4 seed beads below again. Then thread 14 seed beads. Then thread through the 4 seed beads below again. Then thread 13 seed beads. Then thread through the first seed bead of the first petal. Then thread through the 4 seed beads below. Then thread 15 seed beads. Then thread through the 2 seed beads below. Finally, tie a knot and tuck the yarn tail inside the seed beads. You can hide it more if you like. Trim the excess tail. Tuck the starting yarn tail as well. Now, one flower is complete. Continue with the same method. Make 2 more flowers. After all the flowers are made, glue them to the back of the hat. First, glue one in the center position at the back of the hat. Then, glue one on each side about 4-5 stitches away. Glue one on each side. After gluing, place a red flat rhinestone in the center of each flower. That completes the large flowers. Next, make the side decorations. There are 6 identical ones. 3 on each side. They consist of fabric pieces and decorations. Start by crocheting the fabric piece. We will start with the foundation chain. Crochet along the starting chain. As you crochet, wrap in thin wire. Now, let me demonstrate. First, make the foundation chain. I have already done this part. Then cut a 20 cm piece of wire and fold it in half. When crocheting later, wrap the wire into the stitches. Make it SC into the second to last stitch. Start by threading through the folded wire. Then make a HDC. Wrap in the wire. Then make a DC 2-in-1. That is, make 2 DCs into the same stitch. After that, make a HDC 2-in-1. That is, make 2 HDCs into the same stitch. Then make a HDC and a SC. The following is the stitch in the brace. The brace indicate to crochet into the same position. Make a HDC first, a DC. Then crochet the stitch in the brace again. Start with a DC, a HDC. Then refer to the chart to crochet. Finally, make a slip stitch. Leave a little yarn tail after done. Draw the yarn out. Pull tight. Adjust the fabric piece. Finally, tuck all the yarn tails on the wrong side. Then take out the gold thread. Make slip stitches on the wrong side along this round. Attach the yarn on the last slip stitch. Draw the yarn through. Then make slip stitches along the stitches. After completing this side, crochet along the foundation chain. Secure the yarn tail after crocheting. Then tuck all the yarn tails on the wrong side. Also tuck the starting yarn tail on the wrong side. This completes the crocheting of side decorations. After the fabric piece is completed, proceed to make the decorations. Cut a piece of sewing thread about 30 centimeters long. Insert it into the beading needle. Then secure the yarn tail on the wrong side first. Then exit from the first DC. Then thread through 3 seed beads. Then thread through 1 purl. Then thread through another seed bead. Then thread through the purl. Then thread through 3 seed beads again. Then insert into the next stitch. Then exit from the stitch on the left side. Following the same method. First, thread through 3 seed beads. One purl. One seed bead. Then thread through the purl. Finally, thread through 3 seed beads. Then insert into the adjacent stitch. Exit from the left stitch. This group is completed. I will demonstrate another group. First, thread through 3 seed beads. Then thread through 1 purl. 1 seed bead. Then thread through the purl. Thread through 3 seed beads. Then insert with an interval of 1 stitch. Another group is completed. Continue using this method. Make 4 more groups. One of these groups uses the same method to insert with an interval of 1 stitch. The rest are inserted into the adjacent stitch. Continue using this method. Complete the remaining groups. After finishing, secure the yarn tail on the wrong side and tuck it. After finishing, sew 3 calyx and larger seed beads evenly on both sides. Now, let me demonstrate. Cut a piece of thread about 30 centimeters long. Secure the yarn tail on the wrong side. Come out on the right side. Between these 2 groups of seed beads. Come out. Thread a sequin. Then thread a larger seed bead. Then thread to the corresponding position on the other side. Similarly, thread a sequin first. Then thread a larger seed bead. Thread through the sequin. Then carry the yarn across inside the fabric piece to between these two groups. Thread a sequin and a larger seed bead. Then thread to the corresponding position on the other side. Following the same method, secure sequins and larger seed beads on both sides. To finish this part, I won't demonstrate again. That completes this side decoration. Next, complete the remaining 5 side decorations. After all the side decorations are done, group 3 side decorations together. Twist the remaining wire together. The side with the seed beads should be facing down. Then wrap with the gold thread. Wrap the area where the 3 side decorations cross. Wrap a few times to secure. Leave 2 centimeters unwrapped. Then apply glue to secure the thread end. Finally, insert the remaining wire into the hat. Insert it from the 2 sides of the flower in the middle of the hat, about 1 centimeter away. Insert it between the 17th and 18th circles of the hat. Insert the other one in a symmetrical position. That completes the side decoration. Now let's make the rest of the decorations. Start by making the bead string here. Cut a piece of sewing thread about 35 centimeters long. Insert the beading needle. Then thread a red water drop bead. Leave a little yarn tail, and make a tight knot. Then thread a bigger seed bead. Follow with 9 more seed beads. Then make another one using the same method. Next, thread a water drop bead. Take the yarn tail and thread it into the other yarn tail. Then thread it into the water drop bead and the seed bead. Then insert the other yarn tail into the beading needle. Pass through the last seed bead. That is, these two yarn tails are threaded once more in this water drop bead and the last seed bead of these two strings. Ensure the water drop bead is horizontal. Then thread 8 seed beads. Do the same on the other side with 8 seed beads. Then pass through this water drop bead. And pass through the last seed bead. Next, take the other yarn tail and do the same thing. Pass through the water drop bead and the last seed bead. Create this bow effect. Then thread 6 seed beads. And 1 bigger seed bead. Six seed beads. Next, take a calyx. Thread it through any hole in the calyx. Then pass through the last seed bead. Pull tight. Then thread 6 seed beads again. Through the hole in the calyx. And pass through the last seed bead. Then thread 4 seed beads. Pass through the next space and the last seed bead. Then thread 7 seed beads. Pass through the next hole in the calyx and the last seed bead. Next, thread 6 seed beads. One bigger seed bead. One seed bead. Then draw through this purl. Adjust it. Then remove the needle. Insert into another yarn tail. Make it using a symmetrical method. That is, thread 6 seed beads first. One bigger seed bead. And 6 seed beads. Then pass through a space in the calyx. Exit from the next hole. And draw through the last seed bead. Pull tight. Then thread 6 seed beads. Make it symmetrically using the same method here. That is, pass through the next hole. And then draw through the last seed bead. Pull tight. Then thread 4 seed beads. Pass through the next hole and the last seed bead. Then thread 7 seed beads. Pass through the next hole and the last seed bead. Then thread 6 seed beads. One bigger seed bead. And a seed bead. Pass through this bigger seed bead. Then pass through the last seed bead. Insert into the water drop bead. Take off the yarn tail. Thread the other yarn tail onto the beading needle. First, pass through the last seed bead. Then insert into this water drop bead. Then thread both yarn tails onto the beading needle. Insert into 10 seed beads. Then take a phoenix patch. Put the side with the pattern should face up. The flat side should face down. Wrap around the phoenix tail. Then thread one bigger seed bead. Weave the yarn tail. You can tuck it more. Then use glue to secure it. Trim the yarn tail. Also tuck the starting yarn tail inside the beads. Finally, apply some glue in the middle of the calyx. Attach a water drop bead. This completes the bead chain. Next, cut about 6 cm of shaping wire, and remove the outer wrapping. Then, about 0.5 cm away from one end, wrap about 2 cm of gold thread. Insert the longer end between the 10th and 11th rounds of the hat. Slightly towards the front. Then assemble the pad and the phoenix patch. Be mindful, when assembling the phoenix patch, make sure the beads face outward. The phoenix head should face the hat. Don't put it on incorrectly. Now, let's demonstrate the assembly method. Use the actual project in hand as a reference. Next, bend this small section at the top. Then, take out a small pad like this. Insert the shaping wire into the hole. Next, take out the beaded string you made. Secure the bottom of the phoenix to the pad. Take out the glue stick. If you have a hot glue gun at home, you can use the glue gun. If not, you can use fire to melt it. Note: don't burn it for too long. Then, do the same on the other side, securing it symmetrically. Next, attach a pliers, a small flower, to the center top of the hat. The side with the pattern should face up. After attaching it, secure a pearl in the middle. Next, attach a group between the flower and the phoenix crown. A total of 5 groups. Then, on both sides above the middle flower at the back, attach a phoenix patch. Bend them before attaching. Next, attach one on each behind the phoenix crown. Similarly, bend them before attaching. Finally, glue on sequins and larger seed beads. First, glue 3 groups centered behind the phoenix crown. Glue 1 group under each phoenix. Finally, glue 2 groups between the 2 phoenixes at the back. Lastly, glue 5 groups along the 2 phoenixes. Then, glue 1 group under the large flower on the back. Next, let's make the decoration for the back of the hat. First, make the bead chain on this patch. The method for making the bead chain is roughly the same as here. Refer to the diagram for the number of beads. After making it, secure it on the outermost circular holes. Then, using the same method, make 6 more. Secure them along the holes below. Finally, use the same color thread as the hat. Take 2 strands. Secure it on both sides of the hat. That concludes the instructions for the bridal hat decoration.